The biggest fear when you're alone is that you are not alone. Somebody heard snoring and thought, yeah, that's the letter Z. We run everywhere in video games because we're too lazy to walk, but in real life we walk everywhere because we're too lazy to run. 9/11 was 11/9 for the rest of the world. When you burp, it's just a way to let out the souls of the food you have been eating. In real life, country music singers and their fans probably ride around with guns way more often than rappers do. People who are afraid to ask a question because they'll look foolish usually end up looking foolish because they didn't ask the question. The whole purpose of a book cover is so it can be judged. A calzone is a pizza that wants to be a taco. Mid-sky jump, your parachute fails to open, you have the rest of your life to fix it. We have to thank the police for a lot of great rap songs. The fact that food is labeled as 100% juice or made with real cheese represents a sad truth about our society. There has never been a day you haven't got through. Whoever created the tradition of not seeing the bride in the wedding dress beforehand saved countless husbands everywhere from hours of dress shopping and will forever be a hero to all men. When you're a kid, your parents look for family-friendly movies that are safe to watch with you. When you're an adult, you check if they're safe to watch with your parents. There's people just itching to pass their toys down to their children, just so that they can play with them again. Vandals really help the mailbox industry. The fact that we were happier as kids only confirms that the less we know, the happier we are. Laziness produces innovation. We invented cars because we were too lazy to walk/ride animals. We invented the typewriter because we were too lazy to write. Immortal people have got to be the hardest party animals out there. She's dancing like she's never danced before could either be a compliment or insult, depending on which word you put the emphasis. Everything is single-use disposable if you're rich enough. Everything is reusable if you're poor enough. Writing the Constitution with a feather must have sucked. The Vans logo is the mathematical equation for radical answer. Your parents spend your early years of life hoping you stay asleep in the morning, only to struggle to get you out of bed when you're a teenager. The whole purpose of a book cover is so it can be judged. If your school ends textbooks, teachers seem perfectly content in using ones published in 1999. If your school sells textbooks, then last year's editions are suddenly outdated, worthless pieces of trash. The most unrealistic thing about spy movies is how clean the air ventilation system is. There could be a miracle drug that cures every disease known to man that we'll never know about because it doesn't work on rats. One day you'll stop being asked what you want to be when you grow up and instead be asked what you wanted to be. When smart kids share random facts, adults tell them how smart and interesting they are. When smart adults share random facts, people tell them they're annoying and weird. Odds are you didn't get away with your lie. Someone just didn't feel like calling your bullshit. Driving the speed limit on a one-lane road may be the easiest way to make enemies without doing anything wrong. Everyone thinks blood, sweat, and tears sounds cool, but if you told somebody you've been bleeding, sweating, and crying all day they would probably be seriously concerned for your mental well-being. If you're self-employed and you talk to yourself at work it's just a staff meeting. A 5-second unskippable ad feels longer than waiting 5 seconds to skip a 30-second long ad. A microwave would still be 100% usable if its only button was add 30 seconds. Everybody wants you to work hard, but nobody wants to hear about how hard you work. There's one generation of kids that knows Billy Ray Cyrus for Achy Breaky Heart, another that knows him as Hannah Montana's dad, and finally one that knows him for Old Town Road. Most of us have spent much more time trying to crack our own online passwords than any hacker ever will. Your funeral is the one thing you will miss and attend simultaneously. The amount of days in 4 years is divisible by 3, but not by 4. Never laugh at your partner's choices. You are one of them. Everybody dreams of becoming rich without having to do anything for it, but the second someone does, we hate them for it. A burning popcorn factory would smell amazing one moment and horrible the next. The Krusty Krab probably owes less of its success to a secret formula and more to the fact that their only competition is the chum bucket. People who don't need to do drugs to have fun would have way more fun on drugs than people who do need to do drugs to have fun. If you wear an invisibility cloak inside out, it makes everything invisible except you. You never realize just how well you can impersonate yourself until you're struggling with depression. Technically, no one has ever been in an empty room. The child of a mermaid and a centaur has a 1 in 4 chance of being a human or a seahorse. 2 plus 2 divided by 2 is 3. Even in the modern world, there are still people who will never travel further than a few miles away from their hometown. Most people would probably be surprised to learn that you can get from Virginia to Oregon or California by crossing through just 5 other states. Dumplings insinuates there is a master dumple out there. A hammer. Hammers. But multiple hammers. Hammer. If buildings had googly eyes stuck to them, earthquakes may not be as terrifying. Working in groups in school was never meant to teach you teamwork. It was meant to teach you the incompetence of your co-workers. If humans didn't exist, cats wouldn't know what tuna tastes like. During a hurricane, you can purchase a shovel, duct tape, rope and a tarp. Yet no one questions your motive. You probably work with people whose partners will have never met you, but still have strong opinions on you. You can remove any letter of the word shoots, and it'll still be an English word. People who openly admit that they lie are more trustworthy than those who claim they don't. When someone says that you have great taste in music, they really say that you have the same taste in music as they do. A fire hydrant hydrates fire. Is it weird how saying sentences backward creates backward sentences saying how weird it is? Things marked mature are normally the most immature forms of entertainment. We brag about both how expensive or cheap something we buy is. When changing lanes, the person behind you shouldn't have to alter their speed. People who sleep naked don't have any fear of emergencies. In the future, the phrase "do you drive manual or automatic?" will refer to if someone drives a vehicle themselves, or if their vehicle uses a driverless system. The phrase "you can shove it up your ass" is a business idea, product feature, insult, or compliment at a sex toy company. Somebody is probably serving a long jail sentence for murdering somebody who would have randomly died the next day anyway. There has probably been several times in your life that you were seconds from death and you didn't even realize it. When we were little kids, Squidward looked like the most unrelatable character. Now, he is the most relatable one. Staying alive and Another One Bites the Dust have the same energy, but opposite outcomes. Making a skippable ad has to be one of the hardest jobs in advertising. You have 5 seconds to make someone who definitely doesn't want to watch an ad want to watch your ad. The people who say they must be compensating for something when they see a nice car are probably saying that to compensate for their bad car. The internet is a painful reminder of how difficult it can be to have an original thought. Being able to do well in high school without having to put in much effort is actually a big disadvantage later in life. Somebody at Google was like, yeah, just have someone drive down every effing road on earth. Thermometers are speedometers for atoms. Talent shows like Britain's Got Talent become much more disturbing when you realize that it's just 4 rich people dangling money in front of poor people and telling them to dance for their entertainment. Apparently, a lemon is not naturally occurring and is a hybrid developed by crossbreeding a bitter orange and a citron. Life never gave us lemons. We invented them all by ourselves. Watching a graduation ceremony is like sitting through a movie that is entirely end credits. The tooth fairy must really like meth addicts. There is probably at least one white guy, adopted and raised in China, who speaks English with a Chinese accent and strangers just assume he's a total a-hole. One of the most frustrating feelings in the world is being smart enough to know there's a better way to do something, but not smart enough to invent a way to do it. Tinder is the opposite of porn site advertisements. There actually are a ton of hot singles in my area, but none of them are interested in me. School counselors rely on kids to be depressed to have a job. Noted is the respectful corporate version of whatever. It must suck to be an air conditioner repairman. You spend your day working in buildings that have no air conditioning. When it's fixed and finally cool, you leave. As a kid, you thought your parents knew what they were doing. As a parent, you realize how ignorant you were as a kid. Your future self is talking shit about you. The first person who inhaled helium must have been so relieved when the effects wore off. Being an adult is eating the crust, not because you like it, but because you paid for it. Sunny D tastes like someone made a bet that they could make orange juice without oranges. When medication says, do not operate heavy machinery, they are probably mainly referring to cars, but my mind always goes to forklift. If you were invisible, you could have a perfectly normal relationship with a blind person. Anybody that questions why you are shoveling 6 inches of snow in the middle of a snowstorm hasn't shoveled 12 inches of snow at the end of a snowstorm. If you play the Pornhub community jingle in public, everyone will know you're watching porn, but no one will say anything, because it will reveal that they know what the jingle's from. If you won the award of the first man to break 2 world records, that would make it 3 awards, and you win the award of first man to break 3 records. Now you have infinite awards. Condoms are made by automated assembly lines, meaning robots are literally helping to prevent human reproduction. It's hard to let someone know that they're bad at taking criticism. Alcohol and caffeine are the 2 drugs we have to explain not using. If you illegally download stuff in the Bahamas, you are a pirate of the Caribbean. The widespread use of filters and photoshopping has made it impossible to tell whether we are viewing the work of someone amazing with a camera or someone amazing with a computer. This current moment has already passed. An artist could create a Where's Waldo image without actually including Waldo, and most people would never even realize it. Please leave your comments below and remember to like and subscribe.